cut off, so I apologize. But it left off with, you can see that the orange bar that was above the arrows is gone, and that means it's done rendering, and the video will play back nice and smoothly. One additional thing we want to do to this video clip, even though it is 10 seconds and we do have an identifiable little arrow show up, is we want to kind of slow down the video even more and focus in on that first point where the bridge began to fail. So the first thing we can do is we want to take this little chunk. It's actually about 1 frame long, and you can see right here on the computer screen that it's only about a frame or 2 long. We want to grab that frame and we want to stretch it out a little bit so we can see it for a split second longer and we can actually see what the arrow is pointing at. So what I'm going to do is hit the B, the letter B on the keyboard, and it gives me this blade tool which allows me to click and cut the film strip. And I want to come to the other side here where I can cut as well. And by cutting this little chunk of film, it allows me to focus on and retime that little chunk even more. If you want to change between the blade tool that's in this drop down arrow, you can hit the letter B, or you can click on the blade tool, or you can hit the arrow tool, letter A, to hit the selection arrow. In this case, we now have this selection arrow. We want to go back and retime this again. And what we're going to do is just drag this clip out a little bit longer so we have a better chance to see it. And I'm also going to slide the arrowhead over. So that way it's pointing right about there. Looks good. I'm going to close the retiming. And then the last thing I want to do is come back and just make sure my video, although I stretched it out a little bit more, we're still only about 10 seconds long. So, again, the orange came up, means it needs to render, so it may not play back completely smooth. But if I hit the space bar, we can take a look at it. Arrow pops up, video kind of pauses for a second, and then plays through the remainder of the video clip. So again, I like the way the video turned out there. The last thing we want to do is, while that video is rendering, we want to apply some text to this window, to our video, so we can see who made the bridge, and then what was the success? How much weight was actually pulling on this bridge? It's hard for us to tell exactly how much weight was held because there's nothing that indicates it. So what we want to do is add some text. To do that, we want to come down here to the letter T, pretty standard for adding text, and we're going to click on that. And what should happen is in the lower right hand corner you'll have a titles window or a text window open up so you can add some text to your video clip. I'm going to tell you to select the lower thirds because it's some generic text stuff or title stuff that will work with what we're currently doing. And I'm also going to scroll over so I can see the beginning of our clip. Now, if there's something you think you like or that you're looking at and you're going, that looks interesting, what I would recommend is put the playhead so that way it's on your video clip. In this case, I can see where my bridge is at. I can also see I have available space here, some available space in the upper left-hand corner, or also along the bottom of my bridge, I have some available space that I can fill without distracting or covering up my bridge. This is one title that I think actually looks pretty interesting, and it's the upper title. And if you scroll over it, you can see how it's going to look. Anything that's black will show the video. So we can just click and use this. You can use any of these. I'm just going to select one that I think is interesting, and this little piece of paper popping out with the name and description on it I think looks pretty neat. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm also going to select and change the duration or the length of that clip. I can close this titles now that I have mine selected. Close this. Alright, hopefully it closes. There we go. And retime or re-stretch out this video clip. There we go. Alright. And now you can see how as I scroll over this, the name comes on here with a little description. Only issue that I'm seeing is that it covers up my, it's covering up the arrowhead and the breaking of the bridge. So that's not going to work the way I thought it would. One thing I can do is if I click over here where it's on the screen fully, I can also Well, I can decrease the size of the text, but I cannot decrease the size of the piece of paper. So again, this is an issue that I got to find how to fix. And if I come to title, well, that just changes the size of the text. So this may not be the best selection for me. I may have to find something else to use. Let me see if I can find one additional piece here. That's basic text stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to say that that's probably not going to be a good option because, again, it covers up what we're trying to show. I'm just going to, how about I just select a different one. I'm going to click and delete the one we had and drag this other blue one over here and see how that one works. I'm also going to click and drag this one out a little bit longer so we can see what this is going to look like. And as soon as it loads, there we go. And stretch that out again. And what I can now do is use this to communicate not only what's up next, I can actually change this text and use it, and usually by clicking on, by selecting the box and then clicking on one of the windows, you can now go up here and change what's in the text. You can either go to the text box or just click right on the window, but you need to have the text box selected first, and you can put up here, instead of what's next, you can put your name, and instead of in the name box, you could possibly change this. Oops, there we go. I selected it, so I could possibly put this to the weight of my bridge, which might be like 11.6 grams, and that it held a certain weight. I could put maybe 15 point, I don't know, 9 pounds. Okay, but you can see or get the idea as to how you can use these text tools, and this might not be the best one to use for your bridge or this bridge, but again, it's a way in which you can incorporate the text and the important information. Maybe the overall efficiency would be one additional thing you could possibly record, and it's an efficiency of, I don't know, 306. A way in which to communicate the other additional information that would tell us something about your bridge, how strong it was, and how well you did. So, see how this video clip will start to work or show, and I'm going to click down here hopefully and play it from the beginning. Okay, I'll bring the playhead back to 0 and hit the space bar. So you can see how everything came together, this arrowhead came up, and then the braking played through. Okay, and it'll eventually scroll away at the end. Alright, hope that helped.